But the progression and leveling being as painful as it is, it begs the question, which of the guns in Payday 3 are actually worth the wait? Because let's face it, from the very moment I started up the game, I was crazy excited to use the SG Compact 7 and the Sforza Bison, but they are some of the last unlocks that you can get. They require an insanely high level, and for some people out there, they aren't able to invest some of the crazy hours you need to unlock all the guns right away. But of course, you want to know what guns are fun, what's strong, what you can look forward to. So today, I wanted to give my thoughts on the guns and give a ranking on what I think is the best of the bunch. Full disclosure, this is based on my opinion, so maybe you feel like my list is wrong because you favor different builds or playstyles, and that's totally acceptable, but this is just what I find to be good. Not always necessarily through meta-defining standards, but maybe just because I think it's really fun. However, I do admit that the majority of my consideration is based on how good the gun is. In any case, let's start. Here's what I think is the top 5 best weapons in Payday 3. This video is brought to you by the Antlion Mod Mic Wireless, a portable, attachable microphone you can add to any pair of headphones for studio-like quality. It features a 12-hour battery, super low 34 millisecond latency, and a quick mute button, all while being wireless. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty scared to put this on my brand new HD 560S, which I absolutely adore, but the little attachment had no problem sticking on the curved and mesh open back headphones. Honestly, I think the best thing about this mic is that it's just so convenient. I already have another studio mic, but I have to fiddle with the stand all the time, and I have to sit perfectly equidistant at all times, or else it'll sound off. With the mod mic, I can just take it out, clamp it on, and most of my friends can't even tell the difference in sound. In fact, I'm actually using the mic right now. I think it's one of the best sounding mics for the price and the form factor. So check out the Mod Mic Wireless for yourself using the links in the description, and use my exclusive code BADASS to get 15% off all Mod Mic accessories and microphones. For our honorable mention, we have the Rheinfeld 900S Sniper Rifle. It's the only sniper rifle in the game, and as a marksman rifle, it gets the job done. Oh, one thing I forgot. During this video, I will frequently refer to a gun's damage output, and more specifically, the gun's ability to one-shot headshot enemies, meaning one bullet to kill any non-special unit. This consideration is based on overkill difficulty. Some weapons in the game may be more effective on lower difficulties, but I haven't done testing on enemy health or breakpoints for said difficulties. Therefore, my impressions of these weapons is based solely around overkill difficulty, currently the highest difficulty we have in the game. Now with that out of the way, the Rheinfeld 900S just so happens to be one of the few weapons in the game that can one-shot headshot any basic unit without the need of skills. This makes it an effective weapon for those that don't have a full build, and it'll still pull its weight. At base, it comes with a high zoom scope, and as a sniper, it obviously has some of the furthest range before damage drop-off starts. So it makes it quite good for people that like to sit back and pick off enemies, or for specific maps like Road Rage, where they have a lot of range, potentially a lot of range, and snipers that are really far away. Because of the way hipfire works in this game, the sniper is surprisingly useful for a quick pop in close quarters, but it is noticeably worse than other primaries, so you can't really push the range too far on that. The sniper, it also comes with a few downsides, notably a slow rate of fire and a small magazine. This makes it hard to deal with large groups of enemies, and also a poor option for, say, breaking down a bulldozer's visor. Now despite that, this is a very solid weapon, and personally, I think it's very fun to use, but the reason why it didn't make my top 5 list is simply because it's outshined by another weapon that fills an almost identical role. But as we'll see a little later, even that weapon has its own adversary to face. At number 5, we have the FIC PC9, actually a pretty early level SMG that you can unlock. Remember how I said I was super excited to try and unlock the MP7 or the SG Compact 7? Well, turns out I didn't like it that much, and it's kind of hard to quantify why. By all accounts, the stat bars show that these are pretty similar weapons, and in fact, the SG Compact 7 has more damage and more armor penetration than the other SMGs, just from testing the amount of shots needed to kill on various enemies. But it just felt a little off. If I had to pinpoint just exactly what I liked about the FIC more than the SG Compact, it boils down to two things: precision and sustainability. The Ziv Commando That's an awful feeling SMG, so I'm not even going to consider that one. Just comparing the FIC and the SG Compact, by all accounts the game is saying that the Compact has more accuracy and handling, but I'd argue that it's actually the opposite. The stats are close enough where it doesn't make that big a difference, but the lower fire rate of the FIC makes it feel like it's more controllable. More controllable means more accurate, means less susceptible to bloom, and in general, that means less wasted bullets. And because you're wasting less bullets, that also gives me the feeling that I'm more self-sustainable when I use the FIC as opposed to the SG Compact. I don't find myself running out of ammo quite as fast. Now don't get me wrong, the Compact is a very strong weapon, but this is where my personal tastes are probably swaying the favor here. As far as a general take for SMGs as a whole, they have amazing ammo pickup and overall good handling, including a fast reload. This makes SMGs the perfect spray and pray weapons, quick and fast, getting a lot of bullets out in quick succession. It's a flexible weapon that can deal nicely with lots of different enemies, from heavy swats to specials, and in a pinch it'll still be okay at dealing with snipers. At its base, the FIC can feel a little bit weak, but when you start stacking damage skills with Edge, that's when it really starts to feel like a proper weapon. Unfortunately, the reason why I have this weapon at number 5 is simply because I feel like SMGs and assault rifles have a bit of overlap in roles, and sometimes I find it hard to justify that difference. That said, the ammo pickup and sustainability is a very big plus for me, so the FIC still finds a frequent place in my loadout. For number 4, I've actually chosen a secondary, the Sforza Bison Revolver. Unfortunately, a really high level unlock, but the Bison has one main difference that separates it from the Castigo 44, the other revolver in the game. That makes it a much stronger weapon. Thankfully, revolvers in this game live up to their stereotype. Accurate, hard-hitting, high-risk, high-reward weapons that require precise aim and punish those that aren't accurate. It only has 6 shots and a slow reload, so every shot counts. Now, the big reason why the Bison is number 4 and not the Castigo is because for whatever reason, the Bison just has higher armor penetration. Now, for those of you that are unaware, Payday 3 has a new hidden stat for all guns that the community has dubbed armor penetration, or armor piercing, or something similar. I don't want to go into specific detail because I'm not quite sure how it works exactly myself, but the end result is that weapons have different effective damage based on their armor penetration stat. It's easier just to show you what I mean. So for both of these clips, I have the gunslinger skill that gives edge when you swap weapons. So for demonstration purposes, just know that I have edge active. Unfortunately, this test map, which is a mod by the way, is still a work in progress, so some of the stuff isn't working quite right, like showing buffs on the screen. Now remember that edge is 10% extra damage. With the Castigo, even with edge, you can't one-shot headshot a SWAT unit. However, with the Bison, you can. And that difference is simply because the Bison has higher armor penetration. Now, if you really want to get into it, the Castigo can still achieve a one-shot headshot kill with edge active and the skill Cutting Shot, which increases armor penetration. But the Bison, by virtue of not needing the skill, just makes it more flexible, and therefore more deserving of a spot on this list. Easily achieving a one-shot kill as a secondary weapon makes it a formidable weapon, and in my opinion, even rivaling some of the primaries. But with the slow reload and the limited magazine, it's still a heavily punishing weapon, especially if you try to spam it. On the flip side, it's also the perfect gun for holding up hostages and using them as shields, should you choose to do so for any builds. There's not a better secondary in the game. At number 3, we have the KU-59. If there was one sentence that could describe this gun, it's that it's the jack of all trades, master of none. Assault rifles are the bread and butter of any video game. Basic weapons that can do just a little bit of everything. Good at range combat, easily controllable and decent handling, enough damage not to feel like a pea shooter, good accuracy, and adequate sustainability. But why the KU-59? Well, if we were to compare just the assault rifles, it's simply the best one. It has the highest combination of damage and armor penetration to give it an incredibly punchy feeling. And though the in-game stat bars may say that the other stats like handling and accuracy are much worse than the Northwest or the CAR 4, That simply isn't the case in real practical gameplay. If there is such a difference, it's minuscule enough where I don't even notice it. So in short, it's the best assault rifle of the assault rifle feeling assault rifles. If that statement was confusing to you, don't worry, you'll know what I mean later in the video. The beauty of the KU-59 is that it's a weapon that works with any build, or hell, even with no build. I'd certainly advise always taking skills that at least give you edge and easy ways to refresh it, but it works even without it. For people that may want to try a support build based on trading hostages, or holding up hostages as shield. Well, actually, that wouldn't work in this case because that relies on your secondary. Ignore I said that. Or maybe people that really want to try sentry guns and want to fully invest in it. This is a perfectly fine weapon to bring along without any skills necessary to make it feel better. It's got good hipfire and manageable bloom, meaning it can work well in close quarters, and it's also accurate enough to work in long-range playstyles as well. The very first time I unlocked the KU-59, I basically had no build set up, and it blew me away by how nice it felt. The game has a Car 4 variant called Old Faithful, but that's a load of horseshit. To me, this KU-59 is Old Faithful. This is Old Reliable. It'll never give me up. It'll never let me down, and it's never gonna run around and desert me. At number 2, we have the Mosconi 12 Classic. Double barrel shotguns. It's hard to fuck up double barrel shotguns in a video game. Big boom, big damage, big smiles all around. And the Mosconi does not disappoint. Well, once you get to fiddling with it anyway. At base, it's alright. Solid, but not blow you away amazing or anything. So why is it in my number 2 slot? Because of the skills and the mods. With a fully decked out Mosconi, and with the proper build, the Mosconi is a force to be reckoned with, extending its damage distance, tightening the hipfire spread for more consistent one-shots, looping edge over and over for more damage, faster reloads, and just refreshing any of the skills that you might have. It's the weapon I find that synergizes the most with a lot of skills without having to think too much. Just use the gun like you normally would. As an added bonus, the ammo funneling skills from the mower tree are amazing with the Mosconi, turning it to what you see in the gameplay. Now, I know it's not exactly the most unique setup. Anyone with half a brain can look at the skills and go, oh wow, those skills look really strong, and doubly so if you use it with the Mosconi. Still, the fact of the matter is, this gun is one of the best weapons in the game because of its performance and synergy with the current skills available. I was planning on making a video about builds and stuff, this weapon included, so please look forward to that. The Mosconi here holds unrivaled crowd control potential, but does have a few glaring drawbacks. Obviously, as a shotgun, it lacks the ability to deal with snipers, or deal much long-range damage at all. And with how the new special units are, it actually can suffer a bit depending on when you have to fight. If you're too close to a nader and you accidentally shoot his grenade fest, which, is very easy with a shotgun, you can inadvertently stun yourself. The limited amount of shots you have is also unsuited to dealing with the new shields and bulldozers. They're both pretty tanky units. Not that it's bad, it's just that they're definitely more punishing than if you had an assault rifle, because it leaves you very vulnerable in a number of ways. And finally, at our number 1 spot for the best weapon in Payday 3, that title is awarded to the VF7S. Boy, that's a mouthful. It's the same amount of letters as the KU-59, but that just rolls off the tongue a lot easier. This one's hard. Anyway, yeah, surprise surprise, the final gun you unlock in the game is also the best one. Why? Well, if I were to describe the KU-59 as the jack of all trades, master of none, the VF7S is the master of all trades. It simply does not have very many drawbacks. Now, the in-game description says that this weapon is an assault rifle, but for all intents and purposes, this is closer to a marksman rifle. It sports insanely high damage and armor penetration, much higher than any of the other assault rifles, and it's balanced by the fact that it has some insanely high recoil. You're not supposed to use it like an assault rifle. You can't easily mix in sustained fire or continuous fire. This weapon is meant to be burst fired nearly all the time. For this reason, I don't really consider it an assault rifle. It's more comparable to a marksman rifle. Without edge, the VF7S does not have the capability to one-shot enemies, but with just edge, the VF7S becomes a one-shot machine, just like the Bison. Now, what sets the other marksman rifles apart, like the sniper rifle and the SA-A144, they have the ability to one-shot enemies with ease. With the VF7S, it does need edge. But at the end of the day, it can easily achieve the same result as long as you have edge. And like I said before, arguably, every loud build should have edge anyway. But if we were to compare them, the VF7S starts showing some of its crazy advantages. For a marksman rifle, it has a much larger magazine, it's fully automatic with a decent rate of fire, and it has really good ammo pickup for a weapon that can reliably one-shot, making it insanely self-sustainable. Yes, it does have some pretty crazy recoil, but with Bloom being in the game, you're not really supposed to fire full auto that much anyway, so burst firing pairs nicely with its intended function. However, even on that front, the other marksman rifles have horrifically bad accuracy once Bloom starts to kick in. The VF7S doesn't seem to have that problem. The Bloom for the VF7S is closer to that of the Bloom of the assault rifles, meaning it's not that bad. In a pinch, the weapon is still more usable for unloading a full magazine into bulldozers and their faceplate. The recoil, it's not so bad where you're unable to hit anything past 10 meters, so having it be fully automatic there is really helpful. Really, there's almost no downside to this weapon. If the VF7S didn't exist, a strong contender for the #1 spot on this list would have been the SA-A144, or this game's M14, for mostly the same reasons. A reliable one-shot headshot weapon, decent ammo pickup, a larger magazine than Sniper, and good range and accuracy. But it still has a smaller magazine than the VF7S, and it also has that horrible hipfire bloom that makes it incredibly inaccurate if you try to shoot it too fast. Funny enough, the reason why the Rheinfeld 900S is only an honorable mention is because the SA-A144 exists, which is a gun that fulfills the same purpose, but does almost everything the Sniper can do, but better. And that's also the same reason why the SA-A144, fuck that name by the way, that's why that gun didn't make it onto this list. Because the VF7S exists, which also fulfills the same purpose, but does almost everything it can do, but better. Like I mentioned, there are slight trade-offs. The Sniper, obviously, is better for extremely long range. The damage drop-off doesn't start until much later. The SA-A144 is better for early builds without edge, since, like I said, it can one-shot without skills. The VF7S, though, is just the overall better weapon once you've got at least a few skills and you can reliably keep up edge, which isn't very hard at all. And since you unlock it so late in the game, you already have a lot of skill points to work around and make a build with it. The increased flexibility of this weapon makes it so that it works with a wider variety of builds and playstyles, where you can treat it like a close-range, precision boomstick, or you can put a long-range scope on it and treat it like a real marksman rifle. The VF7S can do it all, and it can do it well. And for that reason, it's the #1 best gun, Payday 3. Currently, anyway. 1 year of planned DLC and the devs having a reputation of releasing power creep weapons for their paid DLC means that this list will probably be obsolete pretty soon. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.